Hello and welcome, Ryan here from Fiskal, and today I'm going to take you through the MRP run set points or settings in order for us to run the MRP and get those suggested supply orders. So how do we get there? We get there from the inventory, and then from the inventory drop down, selecting MRP and selecting the plus icon on the top left. Right, so here we are with the MRP run set points. We'll work left to right. Under the general tab, you can see that we have load demand with details. Now, this is a very, very important piece to tick. What this does is it creates a hyperlink for the suggested supply orders and tells you why this is suggested. So it'll include sales orders, transfers orders, and production orders, and all of the fun pieces that are putting that suggestion in place, right? When we look at our, one thing to note about the load demand with details is that it does require a little bit more time to run. So it does slow the machine down a little bit, but it is really, really important and insightful to select that as on. Then our planning period, are we planning for this month, this week, next week, this month, next month? Are we planning for the next 12 months or the next 6 months, and whatever the planning period is? This is where we'll select that. So we'll select just for next month. When we look at location, this can be a multi-selector. So you can see that we have our main warehouse and the DO lab location. Alternatively, select every location for every location. But if you just want one location, you can have one location. And if you just want to exclude some others or include just one or two, that is how we would do it there. But we're just going to do every location. Then from customers, say for example, we want to run this MRP for a specific customer. You'll see that I have Amazon customer there and Shopify customer. So I can run this for a specific customer. So wherever there is demand for the Amazon customer, then it will suggest supplies for that. However, if I don't have anything selected here, it is whichever customer is part of the demand will incur a supply. Then moving over to the supply settings. So we can procure up to our stock level, and then you'll see that it includes overdue demand, which includes your authorized sales orders, right? Or we can include minimum before reorder points. So the difference here is that our minimum before reorder points is that setting that we set up in our product level supplier settings, or rather the reorder settings, and our stock level includes our minimum before reorder point, our minimum before reorder quantity rather, and the reorder quantity. So if I have a minimum safety stock level of 100 units and my reorder quantity is 200 units, then that will make sure that we include an additional 300 units to whatever supply is being suggested, and then any overdue demand. So those are the overdue sales that are unfulfilled. Okay. Then we look at including draft and planned supply orders. So if I have any draft transfers or draft assemblies or draft purchases, then it will include that as well. Then if we look at our bomb explosion, so this is obviously only going to affect products with bombs, but if I have demand for a product with a bomb and this is not selected, it will not transfer the demand over to its components. So if I do use products with a bill of materials, then please select this, as it will then transfer the demand from our parent product or the finished good onto the components thereof. And then very, very cool is this include forecast demand. So when we look at running the MRP, we can either run the MRP for what we currently have in the system. So like we said earlier, the overdue demand or the demand that we see going forward. So if there's any demand or any sales that have not been fulfilled in the past, or if there are any sales orders that are future dated, then that's the one way that we can use the MRP module. The other way is that we can say, okay, cool. We have all of the information in the past in Cin7 Core. We have this historical sales data to say we can expect to sell 100 units of product X next month. But the only way that we can tell the MRP to read that is if we include the forecast demand. Now, there's two ways that we can do this. We can either use our sales demand forecast report and a saved template thereof in this over here. So this is my default saved sales forecast demand report. It's quite a mouthful. And that is the one that I would select there. Alternatively, we can download a CSV template for us to then pre-populate with some information that we have gathered maybe from outside of the system. Maybe it's the information that we get from the system that we want to manipulate our own way. But yes, alternatively, so there are two methods that we can forecast demand, right? Going over to our demand source, we can obviously look at our sales. So if we have all sales, so this is then going to look at our future dated sales, even if they're authorized or draft or whatever the status they're at, it's going to look at all of our sales, right? That are unfulfilled in the past or future dated, authorized. So it'll only look at our authorized sales in the past that are unfulfilled, potentially if we include our overdue demand, or it'll look into our future dated sales orders. So what are the sales that we have in the system that are due for next week? That is the supply that we need to make up for. And then it can also include our not authorized sales orders. Okay, production, very similar. So it's basically, this is for the advanced manufacturing side of things. If we have any draft production runs, if we have any planned production runs, or if we have any released production runs, right? So this account doesn't use the advanced manufacturing module, so I'm not going to use that. And then similarly for assemblies and transfers, so if I have any assemblies that are released that are not complete, we need to include that into our planning, or if it's in draft, similarly for transfers, if it is in draft as well. Then we look at our supply order status. So when the MRP suggests a transfer order, what is the status going to be? Is it going to, if I accept the suggested transfer order, will it populate as an ordered transfer order or a draft transfer order that I can then adjust further? Similarly for production and assembly order and purchase order. And then the purchase order supply is based on supplier rules. So we can set up for supply rule as we have for our products, or we can in this run say, nope, we want to change the general setting and we want all of our purchases to run from the lowest price. So maybe we're price conscious at this point in time and we want to purchase only from the supplier with the lowest price or with the lowest lead time. Maybe we're in a bit of a time crunch, so we need that supplier, whoever is going to give us the fastest turnaround, or the latest supplier. Maybe we have good relationships with our most recent suppliers and that's who we want to purchase from. And that's what we can do. Then the last item here is consolidate suggestions by source. So the source would then be the supply source. So if I have a transfer from one location to another location, it's going to then consolidate all of the transfers from that location to the demand location. And this is something that we can obviously make use of if we want to streamline the process. But yeah, so that's what all of these settings do. I don't think, one more thing that we can touch on is saving this as a template. So I can save these parameters as my test1 template. Okay, and then in the future, if I just want to if I'd like to run this MRP again, I can go here and select test1 under my documents templates or under my MRP templates.